Hello and welcome to the Goldberry Artisans podcast, a podcast all about knitting and other fiber-related crafts and about learning new things as you go, instead of trying to be a perfectionist all at once. My name is Emily and I'm coming to you from the beautiful state of Maine. And in the past, I've recorded my podcast outside, but it is currently 29 degrees in the middle of the afternoon. So, as much as I enjoy filming outside, it's just too cold. I actually recorded an episode yesterday, towards the end of the afternoon. I finally had some free time and I wanted to record, but then I looked at the footage later and it was just way too dark, and anything I could do with my limited video editing software capabilities, it just looked awful and you couldn't see anything. So we're going to try again a little earlier in the day. Hopefully this works out. I'm trying to find a good place to set up to film indoors. Currently sitting on what used to be my bed on the top bunk, so you can see my lovely, cute little collection of stuffed animals featuring Rapunzel on the wall. So we'll see how this goes. Let me know if there's any problems with lighting or anything like that. So yeah. Today I'm going to be talking about what I have off the needles, on the needles, some knitting dreams of mine, and a little bit about Small Business Saturday and the Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted hashtag on Instagram. It's been a month since I since I podcasted, so this will probably be a longer episode today, which I apologize. I normally try to keep them on the shorter side, but this will probably be my only podcast this month. So let's get started. My first project that I have off the needles are my Casco Bay socks. These are named after the Casco Bay, which is in Portland, Maine. I can see it from where I go to school, and so I've been knitting these socks during class, and so they remind me of Casco Bay. The pattern is Hermione's Everyday Socks by Erica Luder. The yarn is Painted Deserts Knitted Fevers Painted Desert line. There we go. That I got on sale a while ago. And you can see I didn't try to match up the colors. It's obviously very drastic like this. There's very drastic tan to blue. This one is sort of all one. It's a mix of both, and then it gets drastic towards the bottom. But I'm fine with that. They fit well. They're comfortable. Although these are most likely going to end up being a Christmas gift for a friend who has expressed a desire to learn how to knit in order to make herself hand knit socks. But I know her well enough that that's probably not going to happen. So I'll probably give these socks to her. So I love how the Hermione's Everyday Sock, how the texture just goes with this yarn, because this yarn definitely reminds me of the ocean, and so the texture helps with that, like pebbles in the sand or footprints in the sand, and then in the blue it helps it to look like waves. So those are my Casco Bay socks. The one modification I made was that the pattern calls for you to cast on 64 stitches. I cast on 60. It was an accident, but it turned out well because they fit just right, and I would almost be afraid that if there were 64 stitches, it would be too loose. So those are my Casco Bay socks. Next up, I talked about this project at length in my last episode, and it's basically done. This is my There Is Still Much to This Fair shawl. It's the Om shawl pattern by Andrea Mowry. I knit this using Malabrigo yarn worsted, and this white color is Rios. If you want more details on this and you missed my last podcast episode, you can go on there. I still obviously need to weave in the ends. I also need to buy some buttons to sew on, because you put buttonholes along like the last half of one edge, and then on the opposite edge. So there will be buttonholes there's buttonholes on this side, and then there will be buttons along the side, just to make it even more versatile shawl. I wanted a big, soft, cozy shawl poncho thing And that is definitely what I ended up with. So, pulling this off my shelf, because I finished it a couple weeks ago. But pulling it off my shelf has definitely reminded me, yes, I want to buy buttons soon because I want to wear this. I want to have this. Because we've actually been getting some snow in December. Last year we didn't get a lot of snow, which made me very sad. So it's nice and cold enough to wear it. And I know that Malabrigo is not like a hard wearing yarn. It's a big, Malabrigo worsted is a big puffy single ply yarn. But that's what I wanted. I wanted just a nice cozy shawl to wear that would just be like a hug in shawl form. Next up is what I have currently on the needles. As soon as I finished my Casco Bay socks, I cast on for another pair of socks, and I have literally 3 rounds done. I told you, 3 rounds. These are going to be the Jaywalker socks by Grumperina Designs. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. And I would have been looking for a sock pattern that would go well with West Yorkshire Spinners. This is the Blue Lagoon colorway, their signature 4-ply. I purchased this from the Woolly Thistle. And so I wanted something that would go well with the self-striping yarn. The other skein of West Yorkshire Spinners I've used, I made just a vanilla sock, and I mean, that was fun, but I don't want to do another vanilla sock pattern. I'm not a big vanilla sock girl. I like something a bit interesting. And so the Jaywalker pattern has sort of like it'll end up with like a chevron-y type, like a zigzag texture. Not texture, like a zigzag stitch pattern. So it'll still show off the stripes, but they won't be just straight across stripes. So that's, I don't have a name for these yet because I just cast them on and there's 3 rounds done. But these socks are living in this beautiful project bag. I won this. It's made by Woodsy and Wild. Woodsy and Wild on Etsy, made in New Hampshire. Ooh. There we go. It's made in New Hampshire, and I won this on through a New Hampshire Knits giveaway. And I'm always behind on my podcasts, watching, listening, any of them, always behind. So I hadn't heard the episode where Claire had announced the winner for this giveaway. And suddenly this beautiful bag appeared in my mailbox. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. But like, where did this come from? But thankfully Claire had also included one of her business cards and said, congratulations, you won. And then a couple days later, I listened to the podcast episode and I was like, oh, it's me. So it's a beautiful bag. It has, so if you can see, I've got my skein of yarn here, and there's still plenty of room for the 2 socks. This is where my Casco Bay socks were living before I finished them as well. And it has pockets. It has a bigger pocket on the inside, and then 2 smaller pockets, like where you could put pencils or knitting needles. And I love these floral fabrics. Those are just so pretty. It has a really nice zipper. So yeah, I love this bag. I love project bags. I just don't always want to spend money on project bags when I could buy yarn instead. So it's always exciting when I win a project bag or when someone gives one to me. My next project that I have on the needles. This is my I'll Not Be Able to Help Loving It hat. It's the Wildflower Cap by Mary Jane Mucklestone. It was in the first issue of The Making magazine. The quote comes from Anne of Green Gables because, you know, what other quotes are there? It says, if I go out there and get acquainted with all the trees and flowers in the orchard and the brook, I'll not be able to help loving it. So I love this hat. I love it's got flowers, and I love the yarn, and I just can't help loving it. Even though it's not quite turning out exactly as I want, I'm knitting this for my mom who has issues because she has very slippery hair. Hats always slide off her head. So I wanted to knit her a slouchy hat. But I'd read other people who had knit this on Ravelry. Their notes said that it ran small. So I went up a needle size, and it's still going to be too small. But the hard part is, since it's such a big color work motif, I can't just add another flower because that would make it way, way too big. So I think I need to go in, look at the chart, and add in more in between stitches to just make each pattern repeat longer. Because I only need, maybe I need it to be like 2 inches wider. Because in the picture, in the pattern, it's a very slouchy hat, but it's turning out to be not too super slouchy. So I'm going to go in and edit that chart. But I love it. I'm using leftover Malabrigo worsted from my shawl. This is the Chapelstone colorway, and this is Uva. I love this purple. The other Malabrigo yarns that I used are just very much like it's all one color. But this purple has that subtle, that tonal look where there's light spots and dark spots, which I absolutely love. And I know that my mom will love how soft this is. So that is my I Can't Help Loving It hat. So the other project that I have been working on, I cast this on like a couple days before Thanksgiving. And it's been mostly the only thing I've worked on. This is my Let Me Fall pullover. The pattern is Flight by Sarah Pope. It's a Brooklyn tweed pattern. And the yarn is Knit Picks Palette. The name Let Me Fall comes from a song that Josh Groban sings. That the first stanza says, "Let me fall, let me climb, there's a moment when fear and dream must collide." And I love that song, it's beautiful, and I was inspired by the name of the pattern, was Flight. So it's basically, it's knit in the round, so it's knit seamlessly, and at this point, I've split, this is going to be the arms, where these stitch holders are, and then this is the back, and this is going to be the front. I think. I don't remember which is the back and the front at the moment. And then just this morning, I cast on for the sleeve. So the sleeve, this is actually going to be a hem edging. You can see it in the body. So there's a hem edging in a lighter color. Do a turning around, so then you get a nice folded hem. And then it's going to have color work on the yoke. This is my colorwork swatch. I don't remember all the colors of the yarn right now. I apologize. But so it's Knit Picks Palette, which is fingering weight. The main color that I'm using is Bittersweet Heather. Hold on. Yes, Bittersweet Heather. The color I use for the hem edging is Coriander Heather. I'm still not totally... I bought the yarn online, so it was a little bit hard to tell how it's going to play together. So these two colors are very close. Like when you look up close, they look more different, but from far away, they kind of blend together. And originally I had this brighter color on the bottom, but I just didn't like how that looked. It was too Halloween-y for a sweater that I want to wear all the time. So I switched these two, and I'm hoping that it will turn out okay. And I have to say, this knitting pattern is one of the most well-written patterns I have ever seen. There are so many notes, so many helpful notes. It includes instructions for how to swatch in the round so that you get the right gauge. It includes instructions for everything. It tells you, even on the color charts, it tells you which color is the dominant color in that round so that you know which hand to hold which color, and if you're doing two-handed color work. It's just, and it tells you, like there are waist decrease and then waist increase rounds on the body, and there's two different kinds of each, and so it will tell you, okay, after you've completed all the decreases, you will have worked this many total decrease rounds, this many of each kind. It's just so easy to follow. Which is really good because this is the first time I've ever done a sweater with any sort of color work. It's also the first time I've ever knit sleeves in the round. The other few sweaters I've made, I've knit them 2 at a time flat. So this is my first time doing sleeves in the round. So it's really nice to have such a nice, well-written pattern. Originally, I had thought about modifying it and adding color work along the bottom. Not the full color work chart, because that would be huge, but just a couple, like maybe like 2 sections, and then I thought about putting some on the end of the sleeves. But there, like I said, there are waist decreases that happen there, and so that would have messed with the stitch count for the color work. And so I would love to knit another sweater at some point that has all over color work, or just color work at the bottom as well as at the yoke, which is not this time. But I'm definitely, this is like my go-to knit right now. It's a nice, at the end of the day, after I've been studying and working all day, or if I need to knit like while I'm reading homework, or even while I'm in class, then this is just my go-to knit. That's why so much has been done on it. I have a few other projects that I need to be working on, like one that needs to be done by next Sunday. I have a hat that I'm working on for someone, but there's like literally nothing done on it, so this will be fun. But this week is finals week for college, so it's a little nuts. I'm almost there. So close. So close. But yeah, this is the project that I've definitely spent the most time on, and I love it. Oh, and this, I'm keeping my needles in this double pointed needle holder, which is also came with my Woodsy and Wild bag. You can see it matches the fabric. I never knew how much I needed these until I had some. I love these because you can keep double pointed needles in them as well as circular needles. So for someone like me, I don't have everything in a separate project bag, but this is nice. I can toss it in with my bigger purse or in my backpack and bring it with me. Oh, I wanted to talk about my needles. So I know I've talked about them before, but I'm using Knit Picks interchangeable needles. I know they're not the best quality, but they're a good price for what you get, and I love them. They're so pretty, if you can see that. If you remember several episodes ago, I talked about the saga of the broken knitting needle. Well, I've since made up for it and bought several more pairs of these, and a few more cords, so that I have one cord in the body right now, but then I could just switch cords to work on the sleeves. They do have a tendency to kind of unscrew a little bit, not all the time, every once in a while, but sometimes it'll happen to me a lot in the span of like 10 minutes, but then other times I can knit for an hour on it and they won't unscrew at all. It probably just has to do with how I hold it at different times. And like right now, with the sleeve doing magic loop, I'm moving the needles more, tugging them, and so that can tend to make them unscrew a little bit. But if I just make sure that every time I pull these out, that I make sure they're tightened every time I pull this out to work on it, then I'm normally fine. But just if you do purchase these, just make sure you check every once in a while, just to make sure that they're not going to be coming undone, because that is a pain. And when the yarn gets stuck in the join, it slows you down, and it's a pain to have to fix that. But overall, I'm happy with the needles. They're nice and smooth. It is hard with the slightly darker needles to be working with such dark yarn. The needles I'm working on this hat, these are actually also the Knit Picks interchangeables, just a different color. I do find that the larger needles are a bit harder because there is a more abrupt transition. Hold on, I'm trying to hold T and focus, and it's not going well. Because it's a more abrupt transition from the cord and where it joins on to the bigger needle. But first I had a larger cord and was magic looping this hat, and so that means that I'm tugging extra tight on the last stitch of that side to make sure that I don't end up with a gap. But then that also meant it could be a bit tougher if your stitches are really tight to pull it up onto the needle. Normal stitches are totally fine and easy to get up on the needle, but if your stitches are tight with the bigger sizes, that is a little hard. So, enough about those knitting needles, and that is all the knitting that I have been doing. Do you like my mug? Look, it's so cute. It's got snowmen. Look at them. I love this mug, A, because it's huge, B, because it has snowmen on it. And I love snow. I live in Maine. You gotta love it. People complain about it all the time. I'm like, you live here. Just embrace it. Learn to love it. And your winter will be so much better. Anyway, sorry about my little snow rant. Next, I just wanted to talk about a little bit about what I would like to knit. I know I've talked about this sweater, gushed about it before, but I am dying to knit a stonecutter pullover. It's a pattern by Michelle Long again. I think it's a Brooklyn tweed pattern. Bex and Rebecca of the Creative Naturally podcast, who's so sweet. We've decided that, she lives in Australia. I live in the US, but if we ever meet, we're definitely meeting for tea. But after she had heard me gushing about the stonecutter pullover a few episodes ago, she gifted me the pattern, which was so kind. So now I'm committed. I'm going to make the sweater. I need to stop dreaming about it. Hopefully I'll make it at some point. It's my 2017. It's going to be my 2017 sweater. But I need to decide on the yarn. I think at this point in my knitting, I'm ready to make it. I'm going to be okay with spending more money on the yarn. At this point, I feel like for me, 2016 has been a year of a lot of growth in my knitting, doing more challenging projects, and also just learning more about the knitting community and designers, and it's in podcasts. It's just been, I feel like my knowledge has just like grown exponentially this year. And I've made a few sweaters that have turned out well, and so I'm willing to take the risk and spend a little bit more money on the yarn. More money as in still less than $100, but more than like 30. So I'm trying to decide on some yarn, hunting through Ravelry D-stash pages. I don't know. I'm not totally sure what yarn I'm going to use. I'm thinking Quince & Co. Lark, which is their worsted weight base. Because I love the Quince & Co. yarns that I've used so far, and I know that will be a good sweater yarn. It will hold up well since it's a nice, tightly spun yarn. It's not going to get all pilly, and it has great stitch definition, so it's going to be really good for all of the intricate cables on the stonecutter. Plus, I watched the Legacy Knits podcast, and for Rhinebeck, Sue of the Legacy Knits, she knit a stonecutter out of Quince & Co. Lark, and it's beautiful. So, I'm thinking I might go with Quince & Co. Lark. We'll see. So, I also wanted to just chat a little bit about Small Business Saturday. I know it feels like it was forever ago, but that's how long it's been since I recorded. Normally my family goes up north, up to northern Maine for Thanksgiving to spend with family, but this year, since several people in my family were not feeling well, and we didn't want to share that, and they didn't want to ride in the car for 5 hours when they weren't feeling well, so we stayed home. That gave me the opportunity to go to a local craft fair. I actually went twice, once on Friday and then once on Saturday. And that was kind of nice. I didn't buy anything Friday, but then on Saturday, because I've been thinking about what I wanted to go back and buy. So, the first thing that I went and got, yarn. There's only one place actually selling yarn though, so my budget didn't go too nuts. But this yarn, it's 100% Romney, 200 yards of worsted weight, and it was only $13, which is amazing. Definitely a rustic wool, but I'm excited because I've never knit with Romney, so that's exciting. It came from Belly Acres Farm in Biddeford, Maine. They don't have an Etsy shop or anything. They do have a Facebook page. It's just Belly Acres Farm, M-E for Maine. And I'm not sure if the sheep that this particular yarn came from is on this little card, but I know I was looking at brown Romney wool, and she told me that it came from this sheep right here, which I just think is so cool that she can look at the yarn and be like, oh yeah, it came from him. So that's exciting. Yeah, so this is probably the purchase I'm most excited about. Not sure what it'll become. Possibly either mittens or a hat is what I'm thinking right now. No ideas though. I also bought these cute little zippered pouches. I wish I could keep them. I'm gonna end up giving them away as gifts, but they're so cute, and it's a nice sturdy like canvas fabric. And these came from Purple Grace. She does have an Etsy shop too, as well. But it was just really cool to be able to go out, and my mom and I went to another little local shop where she sells like rustic home decor and furniture, and it was just so nice to be able to go out and support these people and see different people who live locally who are creating all these beautiful things. And I also ended up purchasing some things on Etsy over that weekend. Some people had Black Friday sales, some people had Small Business Saturday sales, some people had Cyber Monday sales. So it was just fun. I was able to get a lot of Christmas gifts. and just support small businesses, whether they're local to me or across the country. But it was really cool to be able to just go and see all the beautiful things that people make. And a lot of people had Christmassy stuff, so it was a fun way to sort of kick off Christmas. Even though I've been listening to Christmas music since like the middle of October. I blame it on the fact that I was born in Canada, my family's Canadian. I go with Canadian Thanksgiving is a good time to start listening to Christmas music. That's, you know, that's just me. I love Christmas music. Anyway, I also wanted to talk about Get Your Yarn, which is granted. It was a hashtag on Instagram. This is the first year that I'd ever seen it. This is the first year I've really been active on Instagram. And so basically what you do, you grant other people's yarn wishes, is what they call it. So you can post on Instagram, use the hashtag, you could say something that you wanted, whether it was a weight of yarn, a certain color, from yarn from a certain dyer, whatever. And once you had granted a wish, then you could post a wish of your own. So I posted 2 wishes. One for just any kind of sock yarn. I love finding new sock yarns. And the second was for anything Quince & Co. The first yarn I was sent was this sock yarn. It's from Yarn Pirate. It's 480 yards superwash merino. This is totally not my normal color palette, so I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do with it. It might end up being gift socks, but I can tell it's definitely going to be fun to knit with, for sure. The other one, my other package came from Sarah of the Dabbling Shepherdess podcast. She had some Quince & Co. Chickadee, which is their sport weight, in the clay and petal colorway. This might be clay, this might be petal, I don't know. But she had attempted some colorwork projects with it, or one colorwork project with it, didn't really like it, so she passed the yarn on to me, which is so exciting. I love Quince & Co. And these colors are beautiful. I'm thinking it needs to stay together. Possibly colorwork, fingerless mittens. I'm not sure yet, but I love these colors. What I loved about that hashtag was just seeing the generosity of people, seeing people reaching out, even with yarns that maybe more expensive yarns that they like, that they've treasured, but they were willing to send them away to help other people get their yarn wishes granted. I ended up sending out 6 packages. But it was really cool. Like, one lady was asking for bulky weight yarn because she was knitting hats for her local homeless shelter. Another woman was asking for yarn. She just taught her son to crochet, and so she was looking for more yarn to give to him. So I sent some cool boy colored. I had some like camo yarn, some other stuff. It was just so cool to be able to see how generous people were with their yarn. Knitters and crafters are the best. I forgot, Sarah also sent me this super cute little project bag. It's currently holding a bunch of yarn that has nowhere else to go. But she had made this stamp and had stamped it on these project bags. It's so soft. And it has a drawstring top. And it's so cute. I love it. Thank you, Sarah. She sent me some other stuff, chocolate and all that sort of fun little treats. The last thing I want to talk about, I'm going to talk fast. I'm hoping my camera battery lasts because I don't have another one charged, is drop spindling. Last time I ended with talking about how I was going to take a class at Port Fiber, and so that happened. And so now I know how to drop spindle. Still definitely learning, trying to make sure that it's even. But it was really cool. It was just a small class, which is fun because then the instructor, Liz, could really see how we were all doing and help us individually. So it was very cool. I bought this drop spindle. I have one already, but it's a bigger spindle, and heavier spindles spin heavier weight yarns. So I loved this one. This is the one that I used during the class. So I ended up buying it. It was only $15. It's from Green Sleeve Spindles. So it was only $15, which is amazing. The fiber I'm using, we didn't get tags to the fiber that we were given, but it's from a bat of fiber, which I'm loving. I love spinning with this. It's more fragile, like it comes apart more easily than some of the other fibers that we used, but I love it. I love the color. It's just so soft. So this is what that fiber looks like. The other fibers we were given, this is Romney. This is also very soft, and I love how it has the light and the dark. I'd actually purchased some of this fiber from Port Fiber this summer, when I was trying to teach myself how to spin, which did not go that well. But we were given some of this, as well as this white. It's not Shetland, but it feels like Shetland, but it's a similar breed. I don't remember what it was. She told us, but I forgot. But I'm super excited. I haven't done a ton of spinning. Like, this is all the spinning that I've done between the class and now that, like, which was almost a month ago now. But I love it. Like, yesterday, I would bring it downstairs with me when I was making tea and waiting for the tea to boil. I would spin. I posted a picture on Instagram. I might insert it here, or if I don't, you can go over on Instagram and I'm sure you'll be able to find it. But I can definitely see myself doing more of this in the future, and I love just knowing that I know how to do this. Like, I am able to spin on a drop spindle now. So that was very cool. Next step, wheel spinning. It's gonna happen. It will happen. So that was at Port Fiber in Portland, Maine. If you're local to the area or you'll be in the area in January, there's going to be another drop spindling class. Just saying. So thank you all so much for watching. You can find show notes that includes everything that I've talked about. All the yarns, patterns, everything I mentioned will be on my blog, goldberryartisans.com. You can find me on Instagram at Goldberry Artisans. And you can connect with me on Ravelry. I'm at Emily Ruth B. I've had several of you add me as friends on there, which is super cool. It's so much fun. I love seeing what you're working on. I do try to update my Ravelry project pages. Normally I'll take pictures like of everything like every 3 months and upload them. But you can find more information on Ravelry as well. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch my little podcast. I know there are so many amazing podcasts out there. So the fact that you take time to come and spend with me is just, I'm so grateful. And I love you guys. And I can't wait to see you next time. So until then, happy knitting. And if I don't see you before, then Merry Christmas. Bye.